Welcome back to Rue to Read Along. Today we're reading Chapter 8 from The Forbidden Stone by Tony Abbott. Chapter 8 Nowotna, Poland, March 9th, 10:23 p.m. Frost was forming over the rutted fields of northern Poland. 3 giant Klieg lights cast a brilliant glow on a stone-faced man in a long leather overcoat, making his trim white hair look like the peak of a snow-capped mountain. He stared down at the dirt being excavated, shovelful by shovelful, from a pit. 15 days and nothing, said a voice over his shoulder. The men are exhausted. We should try another location. The white-haired man half turned, keeping his eyes riveted on the work below. She told Dr. von Braun the exact spot. She knows these things. Would you like to tell her that we gave up? The second man shrank back. No, I'm simply saying that perhaps the coordinates are wrong and there's been a mistake. Fraulein Kraus makes no mistakes. And yet 15 days and still no clink. The white-haired man felt his heart stop. The shovelers froze in their places, turning their eyes up to him. He clambered down into the pit, the workers helping him from ledge to ledge. He reached the bottom and shooed them away. Holding a flashlight in one hand, he took a soft brush from the pocket of his coat and cleared away centuries of dirt from the object lodged in the ground. First he revealed a corner. The object was rectangular. This quickened his heart. She had told him, a bronze casket the size of a Gucci shoebox. As a man of fine taste, he knew exactly the dimensions she meant. More brushing, more clawing gently at the centuries of caked dirt, and a bronze box revealed itself. Carefully, he extracted it from the ground. Light! More light! Two work lights were refocused on the box. With the handle of the brush, he cleared the dirt from the rim of the chest's lid. Setting it on level ground, he undid the clasp that held the lid to the body of the chest. He drew in a long breath to calm his thudding heart and lifted the lid for the first time in 5 centuries. Inside, amid the tattered remains of its velvet lining, was a leather strap, a sort of belt, half rotted away, as if it were the skin of a corpse. On it, however, and matching the spotlight's beams as exquisitely as it would have on the day it was last seen, sat a large ruby in the shape of a sea creature with a dozen coiling arms. A kraken. The white-haired man turned. You were saying? At the same moment, 1,000 miles south, the same starry sky looked down on the streets of an Italian city packing up for the night. Bologna on a warm March evening was heaven, mused a middle-aged woman at a cafe table. The street was deserted, save for the shopkeepers and cafe owners sweeping, turning their chairs over, and lowering their louvered security gates in preparation for tomorrow morning's rush. She sat on a wicker chair, sipped the last drop of espresso from her cup, then set it down in its saucer and picked up her cell phone. Answer this time, she said aloud. She pressed the name for the 4th time in the last 10 minutes. Holding the phone to her ear, she heard the same message, brief and clipped. After the tone, she said, Call me, Henry, please. It's about Silvio. I've discovered something about his accident last year. Something he intended me to find after all this time. I need to speak with you as soon as you get this. She ended the call. Across the piazza, chimes sounded. She glanced up at the 600-year-old tower, then at her phone. The clock, a 19th century edition, wasn't more than a minute off. Cars were fewer now. She had to get going to her office, a short stroll from the cafe. Her lecture on Michelangelo's poems was early the next morning, and there were final notes to assemble. Her husband, Silvio, a long-time reader of the artist's poetry, would have loved to be there to listen. Now, she realized, there was only one reason he wouldn't be. As she reached into her bag for several coins, a black car rumbled up the cobbled street toward the cafe. It drove across the open square and shrieked to a halt, skidding on the stones. The rear door flew open, and a man wearing an oily black suit leaped out. Instinctively, the woman screamed, "Aiuto! Help!" From inside the cafe came the sound of a broom dropping, the quick scrape of chairs. "Che, signora Mercanti?" The oily man outside wrapped one arm around the woman's face, the other around her waist. She kicked furiously with her heels, knocking over the small table. The man dragged her into the back seat. The car roared away. When the cafe owner rushed out 3 seconds later, all he saw was an overturned table and a small saucer spinning on the pavement.